connect with you, and I'm sure that you had a very pleasant Christmas with your family, friends, neighbors. They came by and you had fellowship with them and they with you. The season in which we're in is, I'm quite sure um, you're well aware of anyway, is that it is a season too of Thanksgiving. A season should be a season of praise, a time in which one and all can enjoy themselves and all that um, all that they do. It's been a very good day for us. Came down to um, the sunny city of Birmingham over the weekend on Sunday after service, and we've been here ever since with the rest of the family. The Lord is good, and thank God for all of His goodness and for all of His love. Yes, we had, at least for Danet and I, we had a very good Christmas present, which was given to us at least a few days before Christmas, which is a lovely bundle of joy by the name of Iman. Iman. And she's been a blessing. She brought peace and goodwill, let's hope, from heaven. But anyway, it's good to have a new life. As we said a few days ago, if you connected with us during that time, that the Bible does tell us that we ought to mourn really when one is born and laugh when one leaves us in this world. For us, we do the other way around. We are happy when one is born, and when one leaves us, we are sad. And these things, yes, it's a natural thing because yes, we have built relationships with whoever the individual is, mother, father, uncle, very close friend, companion. So because of the break of within the relationship, we do more. Yes, we are saddened at the fact that we'll never meet on this side of the divide. But again, that is until that day of the Lord arrives. However, I believe that yes, when we see a new life that has been born, an innocent life that has been born into a world that is filled with hate, violence, greed, every man for himself. There's a little saying, "Dog eat dog." It's not a very pleasant world in which introduce new life. But that's how it is. Well, thank the Lord anyway. We are here and we're giving thanks unto Him. Just a few more days left, really. It's the 27th day of December. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 4 more days left before we break the sack, if I can say, and biologically speaking, all those who do know what happened when a baby is to be born, it is within the womb, within the birth sac. That has to be broken before the babe is then introduced into another world. We will be introduced into another year, 2023. We don't know what is beyond those doors. We just do not know. From this side, we can see that whatever is developing around us now, it is dangerous. It is not good at all. Fighting, as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned, it's getting worse. let us say it is getting worse. I can't say it's getting any better. Even though I may not be on the ground, I may not know day to day or day by day um, developments, but from what we are told, sometimes what we're told to what is really in reality, two different things. So let us just say that what we are told, what we are being informed with, is not a very good picture at all. Things are getting worse, and um, we we can't really expect peace this side of the year within 4 days. Not to say it's not impossible. There could be a ceasefire. There could be negotiation going on, which of course I do believe not much is being said on that score. But um, I don't think that there's going to be any negotiation as far as peace is concerned between Russia and Ukraine. So that's one issue. We then have the issue on the other side of the world when it comes to the cold spell, which Canada and North America, United States are concerned. From the last count, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, 27 people died because of the cold spell. Ice bomb, snow bomb, cyclone bomb, bomb cyclone. I don't know what terminology they've used there. However, um, situation there, it's the worst for a century. That's what they're saying for in 100 years or within a decade or whenever they want to. However, they measure these things. The climate, really, creation around us, in its own way, in my own mind, from what I can see for myself and from what I can judge for myself, is that creation around us, as the Bible does say clearly, groans for the manifestation of the sons of God. Now, when we say creation, I'm taking everything in. People call it climate change, which has taken place over the many years. I'm not a scientist, but again, listening to what the scientists have to say and those who inform us, that's what we have to say. I do believe. We coming back to the other side of the world where Africa is concerned, starvation, drought, the need of water. Um, you know, we can see quite clearly that things are not getting any better where that is concerned. Ever so often now on our television screens, we are being bombarded with donations for water, with all of the funds that these agencies, and I'm not against them. I'm not against these agencies at all. They're going out, they see what needs to be done, and they're doing what they can. But every year, over 20 plus years, and probably longer also, there are agencies out there, collecting. If you just give £2 a month, £3 a month, you can feed or you can supply water to an individual. It the mind boggles really with all of the monies and the funds that agencies are raising, that really a dent is not being made. For whatever reason, I can't. I just don't know. But things aren't getting any better. Even within the North and South Korea peninsula. South Korea was stunted or had a pleasant surprise from North Korea with their drones flying overhead the city of Seoul. Tensions are rising. The heat is rising. And, you know, the things that's happening in our world all over, even here in the United Kingdom again, there's been shootings, people have been killed, innocent people, people mourning the death of a daughter, of a son. It's just, it's just getting out of hand. Things are getting out of hand. And every now and again, we're hearing of what 2023 will bring, and the hope of peace and stability, whether it be finance or whether it be protection or security, is being hoped for and envisioned. But yet, year on year, things get worse. And even though statistics show that, probably may show that this year it was better than two ago, or this year was a little better than it was last year. Statistics can always be thrown about, can always be thrown out, and statistics can be doctored because again, we are just being informed, or we are being told of what they want to tell us, and and that's about anything at all. That's about anything. You talk about anything, you think about anything. But I believe that we need to, put our trust in the Lord, read His Word, meditate on His Word. That's what this is all about. There's a lot, even in regards to our eternal security, even in regards to that, our eternal security. There are those in our world within Christendom that you have to take with a pinch of salt. Even that, I'm sad to say. We've got to really, as Paul says, I believe, work out our own soul salvation in fear and in trembling. Don't take everything, don't swallow everything that is being said or that you are hearing. And never put a note to that. Don't even believe everything I'm saying. Test for yourself, read for yourself. If what I'm saying is true, then you can hold to that. But if there's anything I have said, and I'm saying, which is foolishness or rubbish, discard it. That's what we need to do. And so, 4 days left before the end of 2022, and on January the 1st, we would have entered the year 2023. Who told us? Who told you that you'd see this day? Nobody. You weren't promised. I wasn't promised. And many started this year, and many started this year, and they're not with us. They're not with us at all. However, the Lord is good. The Lord is good. Now, I want to do the second of um, the attack begin, Revelation chapter 13. But before we go into that, on the beginning of chapter 13, there was something that I saw. I don't know if any of you saw it as I was looking through various sites and even on and within the pages of Facebook on a particular site. I saw a diagram that that has been that has been addressed by me, but I thought, let me see if I can save this and share it with you, because I think for me, and there may some of you who may have seen better diagrams out there describing the, the pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib scenarios. And I think it would be a good, I think for me, it's a good diagram. If there's any other diagrams that you think would be any better, you can share it with me or share it around. I don't mind if it's going to bring more clarity to the subject of pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, rapture, and no, mid-tribulation rapture and post-tribulation rapture. And I think, and I would believe that there is either one or two other areas that could be added to, but I don't want to complicate this particular very sensitive subject. It's already complicated, and sometimes we overcomplicate something that is complicated in thought already, and then when we begin to delve in it, then we mess ourselves up, we mess our minds up, and we're not the clearer, not the wiser, none the wiser really in what we say and what we do. So let me just share this with you. I hope you'll be able to see it. This this particular diagram you'll see on the first one is pre-tribulation, or the comparison of Christian tribulation views. The comparison of Christian tribulation views. The first view is pre-tribulation. The second view is mid-tribulation. And the third view is post-tribulation. Okay? Now, from the cross, you'll see the cross there. That was Christ's first coming. I don't want to go through the whole thing as such. But then that you will see, let me see if I can do something for myself. Okay, so you'll see here that the pre-tribulation, the first view, says that the rapture of the church happened before the tribulation period. Then you have the 7 years. The Lord returns with his church for the beginning of the millennium period, the 1,000 years. And then after the 1,000-year period, you have the last judgment. And then after the judgment, you have eternity. So the cross means and denotes more or less about the crucifixion of Christ, yes, which is the salvation of man, more or less, and such. Okay. Then you have the mid-trib. It's the same thing as the post-trib by way of the graphics, but the rapture of the church happens in the middle of tribulation. The first 3.5 years. Again, let me start from the beginning. The cross, the Gentile period, and then the tribulation starts. 3.5 years into the tribulation, the Lord raptures the church. Then after the second half of the tribulation, he comes back with his church. And the 1,000-year reign begins. After the 1,000-year reign, the last judgment, which I believe is the second, or if I'm not mistaken, correct me on this please, the second is a second resurrection of the dead, judgment of those who the last judgment, and then eternity. So that is what the mid-trib is about. Then the third um, graph here is post-tribulation. Now, if you notice, the tribulation period, this is when they say that the tribulation period here, it is it started from the cross, and it lashed all the way through to when Christ raptures the church or comes back for the church, and then the tribulation, the millennium, 1,000 years of his reign begins. So within this view, you see that now, as we are speaking right now, is the tribulation. That is why some believe that we are in the tribulation period. Okay, some now believe that we are in um, the tribulation period. I'm hoping that you're seeing this because I don't really have any test at all to say that you are, or that I really hope you're seeing this. If you're not, then please indicate to me if if you are viewing if you are viewing this at all. I really don't know if you're viewing it. If not, I'll have to try again at some stage, at some point. All right, let's move on. Let me move on anyway. Let me move on to what it is that we're doing. All right, Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns are 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. Now, this is showing the origin of the beast, the origin of the Antichrist. He rises up out out of the sea. This is explained, and if you have continued reading, and I'm sure many of you have read anyway, Revelation, the whole of Revelation. So it's nothing new, I believe, to the majority of you. There may be a few who may not have read it. There may be those who have skimmed through it, and you may have skimmed over it and not realize what it has really said. But in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 5 there, the waters are explained to mean peoples and multitudes, nations and tongues. So it's not out of the Atlantic that we are seeing a monster come out of, or the Pacific, or the English Channel, or the Bering Sea, or the Sea of Japan. Okay, it's what John the Divine saw was out of people. So the beast, this horrible, despicable ruler, and he is more or less depicted and described as a political leader. In order for him to have some sway over the nations and peoples of this world, he has to be political to some extent. I do believe that. He may even have to be have some military thoughts or leanings. He may have maybe very rich, don't know, but he's going to be very influential anyway in thought, very influential in nature, very charismatic, I believe. However, the Antichrist arises from among the people. He arises from amongst the nations. And some already pointed to particular individuals in our world, even in the past, Many of them have died, so they can't be there anymore. Even though um, the Bible does tell us about one who had a deadly wound to the head, but yet all the world wondered. Well, I don't think, in my estimation, that it's going to be anyone that's going to be able to give life, because the devil, the beast, he can't give life. Only one can give life. He laid it down and he took it back up, so that we could have that hope and that reassurance that when we go, when we die, or when we fall asleep, as he called it, we shall also be awakened. Okay. So remember that the Antichrist, the beast, this particular beast is going to rise from among the people, the nations, the multitude, from amongst the tongues of this world. The terrible things we must remember that will be taking place on the earth during this time. Let us remind ourselves of in 2 points. One, there's going to be an increase of world violence. There's going to be an increase of conflict, terrorist activities, wars, and rumors of wars. Again, Matthew 24. That's what the Lord has already told us. And listen, I know that this is Christmas. It's difficult enough to be seeing what's happening in our world. Never mind, again, to try and juggle the birth of Christ and for us to be happy and for us to be joyful. The song says, "Joy, joy to the world." You know, we've got to be happy. And then for me to be coming along telling you of the conflict and the violence and the terrorist activities and the wars that's happening. You're probably saying, "What's this guy talking about? Doesn't he know that I'm trying to eat my chicken leg in peace?" But I think that there's no time that like the now time to tell you that we need to be mindful, be very careful, be very careful. And I just want to be. If I'm the lone voice out there, then I want to be the lone voice to tell you to make sure that your soul is hid in Christ, in God. But at the same time, it is around these activities, it is around now that the beast could show himself at any time. The second point I would like to leave with you is that the increase in natural catastrophes, famines, earthquakes, diseases, these things are happening. And if you look at statistics again, that which we are being informed with and about, in earthquakes, tornadoes, cyclones, hurricanes, these things have increased year on year. We're not being told. A few days ago in California, there was an earthquake. We're not really told about these things, but there was quite a bit of damage in that area. All over the world, there is damage. Even, I believe it was in Bali or in the Philippines, there was an earthquake. In the Far East, there is floods and all of these things that's happening in our world. We're not told what needs to be on our minds first and foremost, as far as our world leaders are concerned. At times, is what's happening in Ukraine, but yet there are earthquakes, there are um, volcanic eruptions, and famines and pestilence. Everything else that's happening over the world, all over the world, not just wars. So, can you imagine that when the beast arises, when the Antichrist comes onto the scene, that all of these things are going to be happening all at the same time? I don't think that our world leaders will be able at all to hide the fact that they don't know what to do. because the whole world, our leaders, are going to be welcoming this individual. And I think that we've got to be on the lookout. Are we going to be here? Well, I did show. I hope you did see, but um, it's it's not a very good um, picture that is being painted here by John. The people and nations will be clamoring for a leader who can offer them hope and help. The Antichrist will see their restlessness and political turbulence and give the people the hope they crave. I think that um, the 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 spiritual world, the world in which the man of sin or the spirit that is against the godly, this ungodly spirit, is they will sense that the opportunity is going to be presented to him. I say as an individual here, to him, that he will make his appearance to this world. They're looking for him, and the temperature of this world is going to be just right for the Antichrist to make his appearance, and he will not be rejected. He will not be rejected. It's like Hitler. Hitler rose to power, but it wasn't until a particular time in the history of Germany that Hitler was accepted by the people of Germany to be their leader. And he went in and he stepped in with relative ease. And I think that any leader in history that has risen to the ranks of political leadership, you can see and you can recognize that they may not have been the ideal individual up to that point. They may have been rejected many times. They may have been um, jeered at many times. But a point in time came for them that when they make their move, they are accepted. They are accepted, and nothing at all can stop them. And this is what is happening and will happen in the time of the Antichrist. And I believe that if you read Isaiah, I think Isaiah is a very large book. It's got, I believe, 60 chapters, 66, is it? I believe. I'm just talking. But if you read that, it's very, very prophetical in nature, even though Isaiah was a prophet to Israel, but he did speak prophetically about the time of the end at particular times and instances. And in particular, if you read chapter 17 and even 57, chapters 50, 17 and chapters 57, you'll get an idea of what I'm saying here. I want to take too much of your time because I know some are not really geared and they've got to be in the right mood for this at this time. So I understand. I understand. But this particular individual, as I said not too long ago, very political. He's going to be a politician. I believe he's going to have some political prowess about him. Everything said about the Antichrist is symbolic of the enormous political power that he will gain. I believe he's going to be very political in his moves, in his thoughts, and in his leadership. The Antichrist will have seven heads. The Antichrist will have 10 horns. The Antichrist will wear 10 crowns. The Antichrist will have 10 blasphemous names on his 7 heads. The Antichrist will combine and embody 3 of the world's most powerful empires, empires that had conquered and controlled most of the known world of their day. So there's a lot there. That's those are 5 points, I believe, that uh, that I've shared with you. 5 points, and very wide, very in depth. Can't get too much into them at the moment, again, but it's something I think that you could very much study and read for yourselves. But let me just touch on several aspects of these. Yes, the Antichrist will have 7 heads, and this at least means 2 things. One, the Antichrist will have enormous ability. Yes, the Antichrist will have enormous ability, and most unusual, he'll be a genius. The number 7 in the Bible means complete and full. Okay, the Antichrist will be full of ability. He will be a supernatural genius possessing complete knowledge and wisdom. He will not be like the Most High, but he will be complete in what he does, because the 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 the, the wickedness that he's going to do, I don't think there's anybody else that's going to be like him in history before him that could or will be able to accomplish the things that the Antichrist is going to do. I could say a lot more on that, but I'll leave that at that. The 7 heads and the 10 horns also refer to the 10 nations he will rule over. Um, in the beginning, there will be 10 nations, but he will take over or be given the power and rule of 3, which leaves 7. The heads of these, the heads of these 7 will most likely surrender the governments to his rule. Now, as we get into it, that will come a little bit, I believe, more clearer to us, to you. Again, there's a lot, not being dogmatic about these areas and about what is taking place. Again, John is just informing us. Now, whether the church is going to be here or not, again, looking at those 3 views which we have, we just, depending on which timeline the Lord is on, then we don't know. I, well, I believe most of us, and I'm saying that without any proof, and I believe most of us are saying that the church will not be here. So we are pre-tribbles. You've got the mid-tribbles and the post-tribulation saints. They may have their reasons, but when we look into the Word, when we look into the Scriptures, we've got to know why we believe and what we believe. And from what I see, and from what is going on out there, even though there's a lot of voices, there's a lot of views that's going on, I believe that the most prominent view is the pre-tribulation um, of, of rapture of the saints. The second point here is that the Antichrist will have 10 horns. This is the same number of horns that the dragon, the devil, had. Okay, this again points to the Antichrist being the representative or embodiment of the devil upon earth. So remember, you've got the devil, the Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet. We haven't heard anything of the false prophet yet. I'm just bringing that in to show the Trinity, the unholy, the ungodly Trinity. Because we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's the godly Trinity. So we will see a mimic of what is happening within the heavenly realm as what is now going to take place on the earth, where the devil wants man to worship him, to pay him homage. Okay? So The horns mean power. The horns mean power, and he's going to have enormous power. He's going to have enormous power. And the fact that there are 10 horns means a confederated power of 10 nations. Now, over the years, rightly or wrongly, we've always thought of the EU as those nations. Now, it could be. As far as the EU is concerned, now we have, is it over 20, 30 nations? I'm just talking from the top of my head now, just like with everything else. Um, but something is happening. I believe that we can see that something is going to happen. I believe that the Lord is He is turning things into, or turning the earth, the world, man into a position, and nations into areas now. Mankind thinks that he's doing it, but it's man has nothing to do with what is happening really right now. God is the one in control. Nothing has ever stepped out of his control. He is firmly in control. And if there's going to be 10 nations, then 10 nations it will be, at the point in which the Antichrist will will take control over, to rule with awesome power. He will be the political head over the 10 nations. This man is going to be extremely powerful, extremely enormous power. Lord, is going to be given to that individual. The third point I want to leave with you is the Antichrist wears 10 crowns upon his 10 horns. Crowns, of course, mean authority and power. He will be the leader and ruler of these 10 nations. He will hold the reins of power and authority over the confederation of 10 nations, nations that are pictured as so frighteningly that they are called the horns of beasts. Horns that are able to rip, that are able to tear open the heart and bodies of other nations and people. So it's going to be a very powerful king, very powerful political leader, a charismatic individual that will be able to sway the hearts and the minds of peoples. I think that is quite evident. That is quite evident. And there have been people in the past. There are people in our time right now that when they stand to speak, people sit, they listen. There is something about them that causes us, when I say us now, the peoples of this world, to sit, not even to question them. We don't, there's no question. We think that they buttermilk in their mouth, as the old timers would say. You know, they blind us with science, some people say. Um, but that is what this individual, this Antichrist, this particular beast is going to be like. He's not going to look horrible or terrible. Um, I think he may be a very handsome man. He may be a man to be fair to look on. When I say fair, I mean very handsome, very beautiful, if I can use that term. Someone that people will be drawn to. Again, charisma will come into it. But it's going to be a very um, delicate time for man. The fourth point I would like to leave with you is that the Antichrist will have 10 blasphemous names on his head. This means that his blasphemy against God and believers and against the peoples of the world will be complete. Will be complete. He will be very the very fulfillment and embodiment of blasphemy. So not only will he be charismatic, not only will he talk and speak, um, you know, um, well, that people would want to sit and listen to him, He will not only will he be an orator, but he will be a man, an individual that will speak against God. He will not be afraid to speak against God, the Ancient of Days. So we have to be, not only do we have to have our eyes open to the things that are happening around us, but we've got to have our ears. We've got to be men and women of understanding who hears. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit, and that Spirit will not be the Spirit that we need to listen to. Remember, the Bible tells us that the spirit of Antichrist doth already work. So even though he may not be here in person, let us say he may not be here in person, or put it this way, he may not be revealed to us today. He may be very much within the wings. He may be within a particular political party at this moment. Yes, he may just well be. Um, he may not be revealed, but the temperature in which that spirit is to work, rising, and at that particular point, the spirit will then use the opportunity. He will not allow that opportunity to go by again. Yes. So he will be the very fulfillment and embodiment of blasphemy. You've got to be aware of that. All right? He will be the abomination of desolation. That's what Daniel speaks of within his book. I believe that you should read Daniel, the book. If there's ever a time that you need to pick up the Bible and read, it is today, not tomorrow. Yesterday has gone. Can't go backwards now. Today, we need to be looking at these books. It's not that you must look at it, read it, and think you must get the understanding. But the thing about it is that when you read it, then when things begin to happen, whether you're seeing it or you begin to hear things, things will then fall into place for you because you have read it, you have been informed. So this beast will be the abomination of desolation, who will stand in the very holy place of the temple in Jerusalem and blaspheme the name of God. That will not be the only time that he will. I believe that he will throughout his tenure, throughout his even now, if he's around now, I believe he's blaspheming God. I do believe that. We may not be hearing it. We may not be aware of it. He may be very if I can use a West Indian term, vernacular, very, maybe very conniving with it. We may not hear it, but he he is the embodiment. He is blaspheming in nature. Yes, he will be the man of sin who opposes all religions because all worship must be to him. He's going to oppose not just Christianity, he's going to oppose the Muslims, he's going to oppose, I believe, the Buddhists, he's going to oppose the Sikhs, Hindus. He doesn't want anybody to worship anything else other than himself. So we've got to be very mindful of that. He will speak great and boastful and terrible words against the Most High God. He doesn't care who he's up against. And the fifth point, and then I will leave you be, is the Antichrist will combine and embody three of the world's most powerful empires. This is what is meant by his being like three animals: the leopard, the bear, and the lion. The picture being painted is that he will embody all the desire and lust for power, all the characteristics and traits of these three empires. Take all the lust for power that existed within three of the greatest empires to rule the known world and combine the lust for power in one leader and government. Now we have seen the lust for power in many men. Saddam, Hussein. We've seen all of that in, again, probably in Chairman Mao, or in Vladimir Putin, or you can continue to name names of years gone by, our present age, or you can even think of the age to come, if we can. But when you think of all of these men, Mussolini, dictators, when you think of all of these men who have had power to some degree in one individual. Now, some of these men were terrible in their dealing with men. Stalin, um, you know, Lenin, all of these men were powerful, very powerful men in various ways and sorts. Dictators, rulers, cruel, very cruel in dealing. But can you then, if you put all of these men together and their characteristics and how they dealt with men in one individual, this 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 beast is going to be formidable. It's going to be formidable. But anyway, I'm going to stop right here because there is so much that's going on within verses 1 and 2. Let me read verse 2 and then I'll stop, because I really covered verse 2 in as much as I did with verse 1. Verse 2 says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him power and his seat and authority." So we are looking at for an individual. We are looking here at an individual who John has described. He's informing us now of who that individual is going to be like, what he's going to be. He's going to be formidable. He's going to be frightened, or frightening to look at, or to even be in his very presence. No man, it doesn't really matter who they are, whether they have great wealth or not. It's like Vladimir Putin, if I can say. Just before the war in Ukraine, and even during the beginnings of that conflict, it said that several men disappeared, very rich men. It is said that also that these rich men, who were billionaires or oligarchs in their own rights, let us say, the money that they had, the wealth that they had, wasn't really theirs. It is said it was the president's. And because they may have opposed, whether privately or openly, they are no more. They disappeared. Not only them, but their wives as well as their children. But when this beast comes on the line, comes on the scene, he's going to be worse. Well, at least that is what we are being told of. That is what John here is sharing with us. That is what we are being informed. So, do we really want to be around when this individual comes on the scene? I don't think that we'd want to be here. And I don't think that the Lord really is planning for his bride to be here at all, to be, um, pushed around by an individual that is unholy, that is ungodly. Anyway, I'm going to finish up here. I'm going to close down. It's a pleasure connecting with you again today. And I trust and I hope that you had, again, a very pleasant season. And we are now heading towards the 31st of December, in the days and the times that we have with our families, with our friends. Let us not forget to worship the Lord, and to think, and to meditate on His word and on Him, because He's coming back. He's coming back. Whether we are alive or not, He's coming. And in what state, in what condition, in what frame of mind, with what garment will we be ready, or will we be clothed in to receive Him? Is it that of the world, or is it that of heaven, of righteousness, of godliness? Because if we are not clothed in His righteousness, then we're not going anywhere with Him. I think He's made that quite clear. I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody. No. For we are all born in sin and shapen in iniquity. In sin were we conceived. And so, because we are born and shapen in sin, and we have this hope, we have this right, really, to be clothed in His righteousness. And even when we're clothed in His righteousness, we still have our filthy rags. Yes. And the only reason why we are not destroyed is because when God looks at us, He's looking at us, He's looking at me through the blood that was shed by His Son. That's why He has mercy, because He sees the blood of His Son on our lives, on my life. So I'm just extending a hand of friendship and of love to you all, and of concern, not only to those whom I know, but a concern to those whom I don't know, and a concern to those who, let us say, in this year that we may have hurt, many, we may have robbed the wrongly individuals. We may have caused a lot of grief. You may have done. If you're perfect, then thank God. I want to be like you. But we are not all perfect. We are not all, of that mind, of that mindset. But God is rich in His grace and His mercy, that He sent His Son, that whosoever believeth on Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. We'll continue with this particular passage tomorrow, if the Lord wills, and we'll see further what happens as the attack begins by this political leader. Thank you again, Lord, for your goodness and your blessings towards us. Thank you for the day which you have prepared, that we, Lord, could be graced, Lord, to live. Thank you, my God, for life, for health, and for strength. I know that there are many others around our world who do not have what we have, a roof over their heads. There are some who do not have good health. There are some in the hospitals, in the hospices. There are some on their beds. There are some, Lord, oh God, that don't have food to their children or their loved ones. But Lord, you have shown great grace. And how much time we have in experiencing and having these things, I cannot say. Because whether we have it today and not tomorrow, that does not depict whether you're a good God or not. It is just for us that whether we lose everything we have today, tomorrow, that we still look into thine hand, and that, Lord, we are grateful for life. And so I pray, my God, that you help us, and as Lord, as we live for the day and for this time, that we will not forget the reason why we are celebrating today, Lord, and that we will look to you, we'll put our trust in you. Lord, we'll put our trust in your word. Paul, in his writing to the church in Rome, he says that, Lord, that stone that the builders rejected, that stone, my God, that has become the chief cornerstone, we will not be ashamed, we will not be humiliated, oh God, but if we put our trust in you, we shall be, my God, like a tree planted by the rivers of water. We shall, my God, be building upon a firm and a solid foundation. So we give you praise, Lord. We give you honor. We give you glory. Thank you again for what you have done and for what you're going to do amongst us. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. God bless you. God bless you. Thanks again for connecting with us. And we trust that the Lord will have his way in your life. Again, have a pleasant time, pleasant season greeting from our family to you and to yours. God bless.